Oki, ketkanak simatsimachpoa, nistoa no kakayo kaki, nitsapinska sim Ryan Heavyhead. Welcome to the Kainai Phenology series. Kainai studies 282, 382, and 383. This is a 3-course, year-long series studying the plants and animal behaviors in all seasons. The word phenology derives from the Greek phenome, and it means appearance. And in the Western science, what it's concerned with is the first appearance of things in season. For instance, they might look at when is the first appearance of the flowers of a yellow sweet clover. And as soon as they see the first flowers, a phenologist in the Western tradition is going to write down that date and pay attention to that, and every year see how it lines up. What's the pattern of the first appearances? What's the first bank swallow to it, that they see? When do they come in? When's the first goose egg laid? These kind of things. Always about the first appearances. Blackfoot Phenology is about all of that and more. In traditional Blackfoot Phenology, what we're concerned with is, of course, the seasonal behaviors, and in particular we look at all of the behaviors of the plants and animals that happen within a particular lunar cycle. So in this course this course is organized by the Blackfoot lunar cycle, by the 12 to 13 Blackfoot moons that are recognized, and what is normal, what's supposed to happen with the plants and animals in those moons. And when things don't happen the way they're supposed to, that's when we pay a special attention, because when something is different than it's been known to be for thousands and thousands of years, then you know that something important is going on, and you better get in tune with whatever that is so that you can respond to it as a people living here. So this Blackfoot traditional phenology comes from the Beaver bundle complex, the learning that goes on with taking care of a beaver bundle. And in the past, the iachgimics, those who took care of beaver bundles, would train people to help them. And this is what I'm doing in this class, is I'm training lots of people to be engaged in the phenological study of Blackfoot territory and beyond. Me, I'm particularly concerned with what goes on here where I live in Blackfoot territory, but I'm willing to share this science or this methodology with people from far away. So you may be taking this course here with Red Crow College, right in the classroom, and using what's online for distributed learning purposes, to revisit, just like having notes from the classroom where you might miss a class. You can always come here and watch the lectures and stuff online. But you may be far away. You might be in Scotland taking this course, and that's okay, except things are going to be a little bit different for you. You have to be a little bit more self-guided, because I don't know the natural area of Scotland, and so when it comes to the lectures, you can see what I do here. You can look at the lectures and see what I do here in Blackfoot territory, but you're going to have to do it all on your own from scratch where you are. And in fact, everybody's going to have to do it on their own from scratch anyway. This is how the learning takes place. I got to put you through the experience that I've been through in order to learn the phenology that I've learned of Blackfoot territory. I have to put you through that same kind of learning exercise. This is what the course is all about. So what you are going to do as a student of this course, you're responsible basically for 2 different things. You're going to be responsible for doing field work, and you're going to be responsible for learning species. And the 2 overlap somewhat. What I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to find a place that you're willing to spend a lot of time in outdoors. This place could be a real, wilderness natural area. It could be like where I am right now. This is my main study site, and this is a semi-urban, park basically. You don't want someplace too large. You don't want someplace too small. I recommend that a place that you can walk around the circumference in about an hour. Okay? In any case, you're going to choose a spot that you want to spend a lot of time studying at. And every week, you're going to come to that spot a couple of times a week. You're going to spend, in total, a minimum of 5 hours learning from this place that you've chosen. I recommend you do it in 2 shots of 2.5 to 3 hours each. Some people have taken this course series and tried to do an hour a day for 5 days a week at their site. And what I find when I read their field notes later is that it's real obvious that an hour is not adequate to kind of like get in the groove of what's going on at their place. So they miss a lot of learning. They don't pay attention to a lot of things because they just aren't spending enough time per visit. The other approach, some people have tried to go out and do their 5 hours all in one shot in one day. And I'll tell you, when I read the field notes for those people, what I see is after 2 to 3 hours, they're mentally burned out and they're no longer paying attention to what's going on around them. So you're missing some of the learning experience. So what I am assigning is you go to your site at least twice in the week and you spend a couple hours per visit to total at least 5 hours of site visit. And while you're there, you're going to keep copious play-by-play notes of what you're observing, what you're experiencing and thinking, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling. You can actually take a notebook out and with you into the field, into your site to do this. What I do and what I recommend over taking a notebook out with you is I take my cell phone and I have a little voice recorder on my cell phone, and I just record my notes in voice, and then later on I type them up as field notes. I also take a video camera and a still camera out with me so that I can record observations, and especially when you're first trying to learn all of the different species that live in the place that you're studying, you really need a still camera so that you can take photographs. You can go home and you can compare those photos to photos in your field guide, or you can show them to somebody who might be an expert like myself, or you can send them to someplace online to have them identified. In any case, a big part of as you first start getting into phenology learning is learning to identify everybody at your site. So I would say in the first few visits that you're having at your site this beginning semester, you're going to be more or less kind of like almost like taking an inventory. Your big question is going to be who lives here, and you come in and you look around. Now most people, and this is going to be the difference, this is going to be the transformation that you undergo as a student and learner and researcher of phenology. When you first come out to your site, say you come out to a place like this, you might look and you say, there's water and there's green grass and there's a forest and there's some purple flowers, and you don't really see the world that I see. When I come out here, I see bulrush, I see cattail, I see Nebraska sedge, I see showy aster, I see poplar, I see cottonwood, I see yellow sweet clover, I hear clickhoppers, I hear crickets, I see cherry-faced meadowhawks, I hear orioles, I hear house wrens. I got this whole world humming in my register of what's going on out here right now in this moment. I register a whole lot of different stuff that the normal person who hasn't done this kind of study is oblivious to. When you come away from this class, you're going to see a world and hear a world that you've never seen and heard before. It's been there the whole while, but you never paid attention to it. You're going to get connected to nature if you do this course series in a way that you just never imagined. I'm telling you because I've been through it myself, and I've been doing this course series for a number of years, and I see what it does to the students. And if you do the work that I ask of you for this course, it's going to fundamentally change you. So when you first come out to your spot, to your place that you picked, first few weeks, you're going to be looking around and asking who's here, taking pictures, making drawings, whatever. You might even bring field guides out here with you if you want, and try to figure out who's here. Once you know somebody's name, you know the name is very important. Once you really know somebody's name, then you're going to pay attention to them. You know, if I didn't know this showy aster, this purple flower out here, I wouldn't be paying attention to it. It would be just a flower that I don't know. But knowing the showy aster, then I pay attention to when it starts flowering, when it stops flowering, what insects are visiting it. You know, all these different things start coming into play when you know somebody's name. It's like if you're a teacher in a classroom of 30 students and you only learn some of the students' names but not others. The students whose names you learn, you're going to pay more attention to them. You're going to give them more of your attention, more of your teaching, more of your time, and they're going to have a way better experience out of it. And the people whose names you don't bother learning are going to kind of like fall by the wayside and struggle a bit to get good marks in your class, if they're even able to get good marks, because you don't know who they are. This is the problem. So fundamentally, the first step in getting familiar is learning a name. You know, if you want to start getting acquainted with somebody, your very first step with them is learning your name. But it's only the first step. Learning the name is not everything, and some people think that learning the name is all there is to it. Learning the name is vitally important, but it's only step one. However, for this course series, because this is your first year of doing phenological studies, those names are going to be a heavy component of this course. So at the end of every moon cycle, when the moon disappears, we're going to have an exam, a species recognition exam, where you're going to get tested on all of the species that we've been talking about for that moon cycle and what they're doing. You have to know those, you have to be able to recognize them by sight, and if they make sound, you have to recognize them by sound, and if they have sign like tracks, you have to recognize them by track. And it's going to be a species recognition exam. Those species recognition exams throughout the term are going to be worth half of your mark for the course, and they're going to be accumulative. I don't want you taking the species cramming the night before, taking the species recognition exam and then losing it. You better know all of those species again for the next moon cycle, because I can pull any of them out there and as part of the exam, and you better still remember who they are. So those species recognition exams are going to be worth 50% of the mark. Most of the species are going to come from my lectures, from me talking about what I've learned for each moon cycle and what's going on. If you are taking this course from outside of Blackfoot territory at distance, this is one of the areas where we're going to have to tink the course a little bit for you, where the species that you're learning at your site are the ones you're going to have to self-test yourself on in your species recognition exams. I want you to learn at least 50 species per moon cycle, and then test yourself on a random 30 of those to see if you recognize them by sight, by sound, by sign. But we'll get into that when the tests come. Any case, just know that at the end of every moon we will take a species recognition exam, and you will have to know the identity of the species, their names. If you're in Blackfoot territory, you'll need to know their Blackfoot name and their English name. So that's part of it. The other part is the copious field notes you're going to be taking. When you visit your site, you're going to take the real play-by-play notes like I was describing, and you're going to turn those in a written form at the end of every week. Those are going to be worth the other 50% of your mark. So basically you've got your field notes detailing play by play your 5 hours spent in the field minimum, and then your species recognition exams. And those two components are going to make the sum total of your marks. If you don't attend the lectures, automatically I know you're not going to make it in the species recognition exams. You're probably going to start getting bad marks on the field notes because you don't understand what you're doing. So the lectures, although I'm not giving points for it for attendance, you really need to take in all the lectures to benefit from what I'm trying to transfer to you in terms of my experience to you. Every week I will have a lecture about what I see normally in that particular moon cycle in the place that I study. The place that I study is here, this place here, this semi-urban park area. This is a place I call Spopikami, or Turtle Waters. This is my main study site. I have another study site on the other side of town in another coulee. It's a little bit larger coulee, and mostly I spend my winter time in there. But for you, I want you to just choose one single study site. I don't want you bouncing around all semester from here to here to here to here to here to here. I want you to continue every week to visit the same place again and again and again, so that you are becoming thoroughly familiar with all of the floral and faunal residents of that particular place, and you get in the groove of what's going on there. When you're in the course of this study, you're going to start learning not just species, but you're going to start paying attention to individuals. And it's like I said with the name. The name is just the first part, right? And that's the species level. When you learn the name of a plant, you've learned it at the species level. Once you learn the name of that plant, then your question is no longer who are you? Your next question is what's going on in your life today. So even into week 2 and week 3 of this course, you should already have some plants and animals that you've identified by name that you can go to in your subsequent visits and say, what's happening with you today in this place? And that's where you start getting the real learning coming in. You know, what are you doing today? What's happening here today? Who are your relatives? You know, that's another good question. Who is all connected to you? You know, for a particular plant, what are all the insects that feed off that plant, or that lay their eggs on that plant, or that pollinate that plant, or that use that plant as camouflage to hunt others? What birds use that plant in their nests? You know, you start tracing all these ecological relationships, and you start getting really connected, and you will have, at your spot, you will have relationships start to groom between yourself and individual plants and animals, where you might be following a particular duck nest, and you know, you'll end up following that family all through the summer and very closely, and you know, really getting to know them, and they'll be your teachers. So all of this is part of this course. Your very first visit to your site, once you've chosen a site, my recommendation is to go to that site and bring an offering. And what I mean by offering is, you know, think to yourself, the residents of this site, what can they really use? Maybe some food of some kind you can bring to the site and leave as an offering. Maybe, you know, depending on the season, they might be able to use some fabric, some fiber for nests and things like this. But bring them something. Bring an offering and announce at the site what it is that you intend to do, that you're going to be visiting this place throughout the year. You're trying to learn. You hope to learn from all of you who live here. And make that offering go away, and then come back and be ready to learn, you know, the next day, the day after, and we'll just get started. So this video, this kind of like orientational video, is just to kind of give you an idea of what the class is going to be about. You'll get more of the feel of it as we get into it. You're going to need field guides. If you are a student of the blood tribe, we are going to give you field guides. If you are not from the blood tribe, or you are taking this course at a distance, you're going to have to get your own field guides. If you're in the Blackfoot territory, there's field guides I recommend that are listed in the syllabus. If you're from outside of Blackfoot territory, you're going to have to find good field guides for your own area. And those field guides should cover insects, should cover birds, should cover plants, should cover mammals, should cover signs, tracks. Pretty much anything that you're going to encounter, you want field guides. There's some really good field guides online for a lot of things. Some of those are listed in the syllabus, and some of those I've put links within the virtual classroom for. But yeah, you're going to need those field guides just for that initial, and it's an ongoing thing. I've been doing this for 7 years here very intensely at this site. I don't know every single plant that lives here yet. I know a lot of them. I don't know every single insect who lives here yet. I know a lot of them. I probably do know every bird now, every mammal. But when you get into plants and insects, it's a long-term study. And the ecology, is a lifelong study. You never run out of stuff to learn about the relationships between them and about their seasonal behaviors. But basically, this is just to get you started down the path, get you basically trained for a very intense year, so you come away and you're going to see a whole different world. You're going to be paying attention to things you never paid attention to, and you're going to see, hear, smell a different world around you. And for those who find they really enjoy it, this may end up being a lifelong pursuit to continue to learn the phenology of your place. The skills that you learn in this course, not only are they going to be Blackfoot traditional, like you're going to learn a lot of traditional knowledge about each species in Blackfoot territory, but on top of having good traditional knowledge, you're going to be learning employable skills, because if you can identify the plants and animals in your area and you know the ecology, that's very employable. A lot of times with the development going on in different areas, they have to do species surveys and impact assessments and these kind of things, and for all of those kind of studies you need these skills. You need to be able to recognize, even by sound, the animals that are here, certainly by sight. I have had students come and take just one semester of phenology and go away with a job. So that's how employable these skills are. But I'm not teaching it just for the purposes of employability. I'm teaching it so that it's going to change your experience of the world and put you closer to nature, and you're going to be paying attention. And that's what I want to see in the long run, is a community of people who are more engaged with what's going on here in Blackfoot territory. So read your syllabus, read the study guide that goes along with this course, watch the video, the introductory video that's called Renewing Blackfoot Phenological Knowledge, and we're going to start off into week 1. Email me if you have any questions, or ask me in class, whatever, and welcome to the class. Oh, one last note. We're going to be out here in every kind of weather condition. This is a year-long class. Every week of the year we're going to be out here. We're going to have some really hot days. We're going to have some 40 below days. We're going to have some really wet, rainy days. If you think that you're not going to be able to get out in all of these different kinds of weather, don't take the class. If you don't think you want to spend this much time outdoors, don't take the class. But if you're willing to dare and do it, then take the class. I'll tell you, this class, it's always an A or an F kind of a thing. Either you're actually doing the work as I've assigned it, which is very straightforward, 5 hours a week field work with the notes, species recognition exam. Either you're doing your study out in the field and doing your study of the species at home, or you're not, and it's going to show in your marks. So this is a class that has a lot of work included in it. There's not going to be any readings. All of the study is going to take place in situ here at your spot, wherever your spot may be, and at home studying to be able to recognize the different species. But if you're not willing to do that study, students do fail. It's either an A or an F kind of a thing. You're doing it or you're not. And that's my attempt to try to scare you off if you're not ready to do this. It's an intense year. You may take a semester and decide that it's not for you. I recommend that if you think it's not going to be for you, it's probably not going to be, and just drop the course now and pick up something else. For those who stay, welcome to Kainai Phenology. You're going to have an awesome learning experience. Thanks for taking the course.